I'm with Elana
Okay.
Heideman from Israel Forever Foundation, and we're talking about Hanukkah because it's coming up. Now, Elana, what does Hanukkah mean in Hebrew?
Hanukkah means dedication, and it is the commemorative holiday where we remember the rededication of our holy temple in Jerusalem on Har Habayit, the same mountain where the Dome of Rock currently stands. And when it had been destroyed before, the Maccabees had come and they had rededicated the synagogue by relighting the eternal flame that has always burned from the inside as a reminder of our eternal connection with God.
Hanukkah is all about a miracle. Tell us about the miracle that took place and the miracle that happened.
Well, I'm not sure it's all about the miracle, but this miracle is a tool for celebrating. And the miracle is, of course, there's the miracle of that's the most well known of a vial of olive oil, which the olive oil for burning the eternal flame had to be very pure. And so the vial of olive oil was found, and it was enough to last only one day, but it lasted for 8 days. And this is the miracle that we celebrate when we light the candles for 8 nights, with one candle being separate as the shamash, the leader candle. And so there are 9 on the Chanukiah, the candelabra. And so that's one of the miracles, but it's also a celebration of the other styles of miracles that are represented within this massive historical event. The Jews were under attack. The fact that they survived it all is really the miracle. The fact that you had Jews fighting for our religious and physical and social freedoms is a miracle, because the pressure against it and the strength of the armies fighting us was so intense that it's a miracle that we are even able to continue celebrating this holiday thousands of years later.
And of course, Israel today has been pushed into a war that it didn't want, and it's fighting today as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. We are living the Maccabees through every action that we do today, not only our amazing soldiers, those who are in obligatory duty and those who are reservists, especially volunteering and giving up their lives, their businesses, their families, and going to volunteer in the army. They are the Maccabees fighting this fight for Jewish freedom and Jewish rights today. We have a whole society here in Israel that has banded together for the benefit of not only those soldiers who need our support and need our assistance, even sometimes physical assistance, food. I deliver weekly, I deliver home cooked meals and goods, baked goods to celiac soldiers that are in Gaza or in Lebanon, where they're not able to get access to those things that they need, that touching of the heart, that we're able to help somebody, or a family who's displaced that is living in a hotel for more than a year because their entire community up on the northern border has been destroyed, those who are bereaved. We have come together. That's also living that type of survival that the Jews were living at the time of the Hanukkah story. There's really a lot of mutual understanding I think we have right now with the previous generations before us.
Now, is Israel in need of a miracle today?
We are witnessing miracles every single day. And maybe what we are hoping is that there will be one major miracle, one thing that will be the end. And if you look at human history, that's not actually how it happens. And so we have to have a little bit of realism in how we can expect our miracles. So just a few days ago, there was an Air Force pilot who, on his route between the various locations where he was taking out the infrastructure of terror that is built underground in ammunition centers between Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza, while Israel fights the war for freedom of the world, not only for our own citizens, he released, they have the system in the Air Force jets, and they're releasing from the gases from the airplane, and it made the symbol of the hostages ribbon in the sky. It was seen throughout the entire country. We can only pray that it was seen by a hostage somewhere in Gaza, or by someone in Gaza who might then reveal where a hostage is, because maybe these tiny miracles will touch somebody's heart. I think for a lot of us, that was a miracle to see in the sky, even if it wasn't, only the hand of God kind of miracle. God is in every act that we bring during this war for our survival. I think there are also miracles we just don't hear enough about, and those are happening on the battlefield itself. And even there's a certain little miracles that we have heard from the hostages who've been released. Omer Shem Tov, his mother, told a story about how one of the released hostages had said that while he was with him in captivity, they had talked about what they were missed. And this was already, 200, many days ago, 400 days ago, almost. And they had talked about the importance of Shabbat, and that was what they missed. And they were talking about it, and each week one person was keeping track of the date and one person was keeping track of the day. As they would try to keep their brains active, they would try to remember, try to understand, right? And then one day all they got was a small bottle of grape juice. And they knew that it was a miracle, an act of God, just after they had had this conversation. And Omer made the Kiddush, apparently, this is how his mother tells it from the released hostage. And he made Kiddush, and the blessing over the wine that we make on Friday night to bring in and welcome the Sabbath queen and the king into our homes and into our lives. And there in captivity, he made this bracha. He made this blessing. And so I think that's what Israel needs a miracle, and all of humanity needs a miracle. The miracle has to be that more individuals are waking up. What is their bracha? What is their blessing? What more can they do? How can we not take so much of our own lives for granted? How can we bring about the miracles that we need to see so that we're helping God's hand express itself in our time?
It's looking like the hostage deal is progressing. These hostages haven't actually been able to celebrate with their family these Jewish holidays, have they? They haven't been with their loved ones.
Since they were stolen from their Sukkot and their celebrations of Simchat Torah, they have not had the ability to celebrate not a holiday and not a birthday, not even to mourn those who they witnessed having been killed before them. They have not been given any luxury. They have not been treated by any humanitarian aid organization. They have not been seen. No one knows officially who is alive. All we can do is hope. If you've heard the story of Omer Nutra, who his family he is an American citizen, lone soldier, and his family was, protesting for his sake again and again, every day, speaking out everywhere that they would be heard. And then it was discovered on the footage that he was taken alive, but Hamas had confirmed that he was dead. So whether he was killed on October 7th or in the early days, we do not know. But we know the manipulation of this type of terror and extremist mindset is such that they deprived the family of simply knowing he was no longer alive all of these more than 400 days. We're not being given the privilege to celebrate, even those of us who are not hostage families. It's very difficult and heavy time for everyone in Israel. Everybody is doing what they can to balance from morning to night to just get along with our days. But when the celebrations come around, they also give us an opportunity to reflect upon those of our family who are still lost from us. And so it's a good thing in a way that we're able to take a breath back, not celebrate fully, because we know that until those hostages are brought home, there is no way that Israel can breathe.
Now, what sort of foods do you eat over Hanukkah? What sort of special foods do you eat? And what sort of foods have the hostages been eating?
Well, I'll answer it in the opposite, only because, when we think about their situation, we know that they are in caves, tunnels, some in cages, being deprived of all hygiene, being deprived of every element of human life. They are being treated like animals. They are being abused. They are being raped again and again. There is information of already understood that there have been pregnancies, likely babies born, possible second pregnancies. So for me to think about what they're eating is, I know that it is nothing. The released hostages have talked about pita with za'atar, which is a herb ground up, sometimes with sesame. It's very dry. So you have no water, and all you have is pita with za'atar. There are hostages who have dietary issues such as celiac and Crohn's, diabetes, and they are not being cared for. And the Red Cross has done nothing. No humanitarian aid organization has done anything. If the world had a heart, they would do something. Demand of your local chapters to do something, say something, give something. So, what do we eat on Hanukkah? We eat foods that are fried in the oils that remind us of the miracle of the oil. We eat foods that remind us of the sweetness of the longevity of Jewish life, that we have been so resilient time and time again, and that, as they say, you know, they tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. It's an old Jewish joke, and it's pretty true. So while our hostages fester in these caves of hate built simply on the demonization of Jews and Israel. That is all. There is no logic. This is not resistance. There is no logic and no amount of radical empathy directed towards Gazans is going to justify these behaviors. Of course, while they ignore a mass grave discovered of 100,000 in Syria by Assad, and the destruction of a so-called Palestinian refugee camp in Yarmouk in Syria. They ignore that, all for the sake of the Gazans, and all because it is so easy to turn the Jew into the devil. So while we eat our festive foods, fried, sweet, latkes, potato pancakes, sometimes with onion, and there are those who eat it with sour cream, and there are those who eat it with applesauce. And then there are the sufganiyot, the stuffed donuts, which began as a simple pocket with jelly, and then, of course, have elaborated into the most amazing and deathly to your diet donuts that you have ever imagined in your life. They are astounding. And I think everybody tries to say they only allow themselves just one each year, but we know we all indulge on that more than that because they're amazing. The foods are great. The family candle lighting takes the cake. That's the best. Whoever you're able to gather with to remember the miracle. I try each year to travel with my children all throughout the country, so that each night we are lighting our Chanukiah in a different place related to our ancestral history. And I think that's something that people around the world could also try to do. I've heard rumors that last year, some Christian families began lighting the candles just out of respect for Jews and Jewish traditions and Jewish survival. Because if it wasn't for Jewish survival, no, there would not have been Jesus born. And if there is a Christian who is not standing up and fighting the lie of Jesus as a Palestinian, wrapped in a keffiyeh, even in the Vatican, how dare they and how dare we let them protect Jesus's identity as the Israelite Jew he was. Otherwise, you have lost all integrity to the foundation of Christian faith. We need a miracle. And the miracle will come when humanity stands with the Jews and stands with Israel and does more to join our fight to stop the lies, stop the demonization, stop the killing, stop the brainwashing, stop their logic by knowing the truth and speaking out.
There is talk about a hostage deal taking place, and it's been very, very positive. Do you think you will get a miracle so very, very soon?
I pray for it. I pray for it, but I think we're all a little too war-torn to be willing to kind of give all of our hope into that rumor until there is something more concrete upon which it can be based. When the 6 hostages were murdered, executed in the final moments before their rescue by Israel Defense Forces, we had heard a rumor the night before of who was it, because of the well-known hostages that were included in that group, some who had gained, shall we say, increased awareness around the world because of English-speaking parents and very important campaigns that were started by those in the diaspora. The hostages who are known around the world, they are really, it's done so because of those in the diaspora who have raised their voice and made a difference. We had heard rumors, and it was like that there was a rescue, not that they were executed. We had heard rumors that there was a rescue, and we got our hopes up, only to then be so doubly devastated by not only knowing there was an attempted rescue, but it was thwarted by the Nazi Hamas that they are in the final breaths of their life. If we hold our breath right now, again, on this one option of a deal, they're trying to say whether or not it will be all hostages or the hostages will come in phases. And a huge fear that we have is that if that happens, there will be those in the last group, shall we say, of released hostages on the lists. They will never return home. So there truly is a desperation that it should be all hostages, all hostages. Everyone in the world should be calling everyone they can. Every institution, every embassy, every governmental office, every humanitarian, all hostages. And then we'll know if the miracle is possible.
During Hanukkah, you light the Hanukkah menorah. So every day you light a new candle. Will Israelis be lighting these candles this year in memory of the hostages?
I think that this year we are actually focusing the candles, if I can be honest, on not the hostages themselves alone, but those who are fighting for their freedom. I think that the candles this year represent the ongoing fight, the fight that requires these young men and women and old men and women who are doing the impossible work of uncovering every single element of terror within the region of Gaza, so that when there is some halt to the war, these areas cannot be quickly returned to and infested once again by terror. So we are like with tweezers. Our soldiers are in there and they are living in there, and it is difficult and it is cold. And there are impossible circumstances where, for example, we've just had now 3 soldiers who were killed because not a booby-trapped building, but a remnant of a building that had been. It's so complicated. We civilians, we can't understand it. Take a minute and think of what these soldiers go through. So every light we light is let our fight go on. And I think that it's a beautiful gesture. Many at the World Zionist Organization, at my organization, Israel Forever, and at others, we are trying to encourage creative ways to bring the hostages into our candle lighting, because they too are grateful for those soldiers, regardless of what these propaganda videos that Hamas is putting out. They interview or they record the hostages making statements against the government and against the army, that they're not doing enough, that they're putting their lives in danger. It's all manipulation. So when we light our Chanukiot this year, we light for the continued fight for Jewish rights and freedom. And we welcome the hostages with us, standing in that light, knowing that we will bring them home. Excuse me. We will bring them home. Because the world has shown that they are doing absolutely nothing because they just don't care. They don't care if our people are freed. And we have to bring them home. So it's a different Hanukkah this year. It really is. Last year, we were all so brokenhearted and downtrodden. It was impossible. It was impossible to light a candle without crying. This year, I think we're still crying, but we're finding joy. We're getting together with family. We're singing songs. We're reminded that in every generation, a hero rises up to save Am Yisrael. Mi yimalel gvurot Yisrael. Who will tell of the heroism of Israel? That's one of the songs we sing. And Banu choshech legaresh. We have come to dispel the darkness. Join the Jewish people, because we are dispelling the darkness of the evil that continues to take over the world, not just in Israel, but everywhere. It's time for the world to wake up to the blue and white light of the nation of Israel, because we're all saving you. And we need you to be a part of it. That's it. That's our prayer.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you're doing?
Oh, yes. Come and visit and learn and engage and bring a small event, activity, anything to your community to do something just a little bit different. IsraelForever.org. And you can become a virtual citizen of Israel, just a badge of pride to say, I am one with this eternal nation. And the eternal nation is not afraid of the long road. So we're going to stay on it, and Israel can be forever. If you would, at this end of the year, show your generosity. Give us a gift. Help us continue the incredible work we're doing here on the ground, throughout the virtual world, and in the one-on-one mentoring sessions and educational activities that we are creating for grassroots community with real people just like you and me. And come donate and do more, because we really are saving the eternal world.
Well, Elana, thank you very much for sharing today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a blessing every time that we can speak this truth so that others can learn, be inspired, and really decide that we are all capable of just a little bit more. Every day, another mitzvah. Every day, another slice of hope, another tiny miracle. And that is when God will say, this is a humanity that is deserving of the miracles that he has brought to us in every generation, again and again. Stand with Israel, because that means standing with courage.
Amen.